What's up, everybody? My name is Ray Taylor, and I'm about to do a Zippo Lighter unboxing with the prep that you want to do when you get a new Zippo Lighter, as well as some tips and tricks. No real tricks, I guess. So it's just your basic packaging from getting the lighter at Walmart, actually. It's your basic shrink wrap package with the small little instruction booklet and the lighter itself coming in a nice little felt tray. So there's the lifetime guarantee. And then your basic, showing you the basics on how to prepare your lighter, because it is packaged and shipped a little bit different than optimal for maintaining the wick and fuel burning potential. So it's got a satin black finish with a brass showing through in the logo on the bottom right there. It's got a nice weight to it. And, of course, the warning sticker on the back of the lighter. And, as always, peel that sticker off there, hopefully not leaving any residue. As there is no residue shown, you can use the lighter fluid to clean off the residue if there is any left over. So the lighter feels good. So you see the wick there showing through and the flint working, but there's no fuel yet. Before we add the fuel, we're going to need to do a little preparation. Here's the bottom of the Zippo case, month of K, year 2017. And then the open bottom of the lighter. First time I got a Zippo lighter, I didn't know that there was no bottom to the lighter. I didn't know that was a normal thing. Just your lift to fill. So to repack this, first you need to remove the screw. A lot of people recommend or say you can use the lid to remove the screw, but I don't like to do that because it could end up damaging the lid itself of the case. You don't want to do that. But there's a lot of other things you can use with this tool. The multi-tool, not only screwdriver, but you're going to need the pliers and, of course, scissors when you want to trim the wick. So you're going to remove the screw, and that's where the flint is housed. So there's going to be a spring attached to the bottom of that screw. So you want to be kind of careful that it doesn't shoot out. Although I don't think it's all attached, so it shouldn't shoot out too bad. You just unscrew this little screw at the bottom, and it's got your spring and the end of the spring attached to it that holds the flint. Right there's the flint. And I'm going to show you a little trick to store extra flints. So now that you've removed the screw, you can use your multi-tool, or some people will use the actual tip of the Zippo lighter fluid in that hole that's on the bottom of that pad. And there's going to be rayon balls in there, so you're going to want to try and remove those. I try not to fluff them up. I want to keep them packed in. Makes it easier to repack the lighter after you've kind of reoriented the wick. So you use the multi-tool pliers to remove the little rayon balls, and those, of course, will get soaked with the fuel, and that's what holds the fuel inside of the tank, keeping the wick nice and moist. So you see there, pretty simple inside. You got your wick that's got the braided copper going through it. Now we can remove this wick right here pretty easily. And if you're going to replace the wick, it would be kind of the same procedure. That wire woven through it keeps it pretty rigid, but you want to try and keep the end from fraying too much. It's not a big deal. You can always adjust it later. But you just stuff it through the hole on the top and then grab it through the chimney with your pliers. I like to bring it out a little bit so you give it a little twist at the end. And then you kind of pull it back down for height. Now, recommended is to keep the wick at the top of the chimney or just below the top of the chimney. If you want a smaller flame, you can pull the wick down, and that will give you a little bit smaller flame, which I prefer. It doesn't use up as much of the fuel, so you're not having to refill the lighter as often. But it still gives you a nice flame. I've never had a problem lighting any of my smoking material with the lighter with a little slightly shorter wick. So what you're wanting to do here is you want to zigzag the wick, which is also shown on the booklet here, the illustration. So that's going to kind of, you're going to want to weave that wick between the rayon balls so that the soaked rayon balls can keep the wick nice and moist and doing its job. So repacking these, it's not too bad as long as you don't fluff it up too much. Use the multi-tool to push it down in there, and you want it kind of tight because you'll see at the end it's like repacking a suitcase. It's for some reason it never works quite as good as the first time. So you're going to want to pack a ball in, move the wick over, and then pack another ball in on top, just zigzagging the wick, emulating the illustration. Now, I've seen videos where there's more rayon balls, but I think potentially there were a couple stuck to each other. So you need to stuff in the last of the rayon balls, and you need to pack it in there nice and try and keep any excess rayon or cotton. It's synthetic cotton. Get that in there. Get those little fibers. Use the screwdriver part of your multi-tool, which I would say is a must-have with a Zippo lighter. You can do without it. You can do a lot of this stuff with just the case itself or your fingers, but in a attempt to not damage the case, it's always nice to have a multi-tool. So you're going to slide the bottom portion of the lighter back on. Fits nice and tight there. And then you're going to want to dump that flint back into the flint tube, and then followed by the spring, which new spring, a little bit tricky to get the screw to catch. You want to screw that screw back into place, and then when you go to tighten it, you don't have to tighten it too much. Just make sure it's not loose. I'd give it a little tweak with the screwdriver just to make sure it's in there nice and good. Even though it's not, it's, when it's sitting on the bottom of the case, the worst case scenario, when you pull the lighter out of the case, the spring will just dump out and you might lose your flint. But after you fill up the lighter with lighter fluid, there's a nice little place for you to store extra flint. That's coming up very soon. So you lift the little tab there on the bottom, and opening up the Zippo lighter fluid, you can also use the lighter lid for that, which probably won't damage it too much because it is plastic, the top of that Zippo fluid. So you're going to want to fill this kind of slow, let it sink in. You want to try not to overfill the lighter. Not a huge deal unless you really overfill it, because you don't want it leaking inside of your pants pocket or whatever. So this is another way to fill the lighter. If you open the little spring-loaded arm there, you can put the lighter in upside down in the case. That way, if it does drip a little bit out of the wick, because as the wick gets soaked, it will drip a little bit of the fluid. So you can set it upside down. It makes it nice if you need to set the lighter down for any reason. A little convenient. Make it a little easier to fill. So you want to fill a little bit, wait a little bit. If you start seeing it pool up, you've probably put too much in. Less is more, but it's not a huge deal if you overfill it. I've done it. I've seen plenty of videos where it's done. You want to make sure you try and get any of the excess fluid gone, because you don't want to light your hand on fire or anything like that. But eventually it'll get sucked up, or it'll just evaporate. You know you overfilled it when you go to tighten that little felt pad down, and then you can see it soak through. But yeah, I don't think too much of it leaked, but if it did, it would be trapped down there. And once you put the lighter back in, it'll just soak it up. So it's a nice little trick putting the lighter in upside down inside the case. And if you want to store extra flint, say you're out and your flint goes out and you want to replace it, you can use the case to undo the screw if you don't have your multi-tool available, or a key, or a coin. Those little flints will fall and get lost very easy. So what you could do is you can put your flint in the bottom where the fuel goes, underneath the felt there. I've heard of generic flints or the non-Zippo brand disintegrating from the fuel, but the Zippo brand flints tend to hold and not dissolve. So it's a nice little trick to keep, one or two extra flints with you just in case. And then you put the lighter back in, snap the little spring arm back out so it can grab the lid. And the wick here, still a little frayed out and pointing over to the left, which will give you a little bit bigger flame. If you had the wick closer to the wheel, gives you a little bit smaller flame. And again, if you cut the wick a little bit shorter than just underneath the chimney height, you're going to get a shorter flame as well. I'm just trying to kind of get some of those stray hairs in place. And there you go. Nice flame, great lighter, super easy to light. That first strike on the flint is always a little stiff. Close it up. Nice and clean. And that's how you prep your Zippo lighter to keep that wick and the fuel so you're not going through a bunch of fuel at once. Probably not a good idea to have the Zippo fuel open while I was lighting the lighter, but mistakes can be made. Nothing happened. This was not a blooper video, but I do enjoy that multi-tool. It helps out a lot, and that's all she wrote with this video. I hope you enjoyed the video on how to prep your Zippo lighter, and I hope you enjoy your lighter for many years to come, because that's why you get a Zippo lighter. You take care of it, it takes care of you. All right, everybody. Peace out.